Good morning, everybody. My name is Brandon Faulkner. I'm an intern here at Village Core, and today I'm joined by Todd Brinkman, who is a expert on virtual reality and has done many things and created many books, especially for virtual reality for prayers. So thank you, Todd, so much for being here with me today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Brandon. Exciting to be here. Love your mission. Good morning.
Well, we love what you're doing here. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about, VR and why you started this virtual reality for prayers um, thing. And I also noticed that you started it with many different routes intended, such as the hospital route, the prison route, and many other routes. What kind of inspired you to kind of start this virtual reality ministry?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. And in the beginning, when you do big things, it seems like there's a story behind it. What I'm finding, and then telling my story, it really started in the summer of 2016. This is where I was in Minnesota, and I was working at CBS Radio in Minneapolis, and I just got a calling like I want to do something bigger with my life. So I accepted the calling, and I could have been the weather. So I moved from Minnesota to San Diego in the summer of 2016, actually about 7 years ago this month. So it all started for me, and really, it was exciting because out here I got to get away from who I was in a sense and become who I really wanted to become. So it's interesting. Sometimes you have to move, but I wanted to find like my mission, my calling in life, and I found it actually at a trade show. Believe it or not, I was actually in the process of selling large content CRM systems, content management systems to big companies, and what I found is that they were doing a lot of really cool things in virtual reality. Especially Lowe's was doing stuff with NASA, and you look up at these screens and see what they're doing, and you're thinking, yeah, this is really awesome like what they're doing. It was back even in 2016. And then I thought, well, why can't we do this for good?
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. Like, why does this have to be just about selling a car? And in my quick story, and it's the sad story, is my fiance took her own life about a week before our wedding, long time ago, about over 10 years ago. And I try to forget the year. And my story is in my own trauma. As a guy, we try to solve these problems ourselves.
Yeah.
So I internalized it all, and I started pushing people away, and I learned how hard isolation is for people. And over the years, I became a little bit lonelier and more isolated because it was hard to trust people, let people back into my life, and it was my way, or for me, God's way of helping me heal myself unconsciously, which is funny how this all worked, as time moves on. But that's really the story of virtual reality for prayers. Is this a story of really a way of dealing with myself, helping myself heal from this terrible tragedy,
Mhm.
but also how I can help others. So it was weird for me, not weird, but it was exciting. Like here I am thinking I'm going to be a millionaire in business, moving out to San Diego, and all of a sudden I'm like, no, I want to make an impact in this world, and that's where it all started. Using virtual reality for good, and it's been on this crazy journey. And imagine talking to me in 2016, of how we can take a hospice patient on a VR trip where they can feel loved today, or maybe
Yeah.
a hospital patient can put on a headset and look around and go, wow, I'm at my place of worship. And for me, a church, you can say,
Yeah.
wow, I really feel connected. And then they take the headset off and they're back in this white room. Nurses are coming in doing 750,000 tasks. People are running around and no one's connecting with them. So
Yeah.
if we can put a headset on them and they look around, and my three words are loved, connected, and empowered. So if we can use VR to help someone who's incarcerated, where they can go somewhere and really feel again loved, connected, and empowered, then I think that's when the virtual reality is going to land. Right now, it's a really cute puppet show in some of these VR worlds, and it's fun and it's
Yeah.
cute, but it doesn't really solve problems. So now, if we can actually help seniors, connect to a local museum tour, okay, now we got something. So I thought, the world's going to do it for bad, which is we can figure out if video games are bad, violent video games, but we
Yeah.
can do it for good. And so that's my story of really helping me like find my calling and healing myself, and out of that trauma, actually starting to help people. And that's exciting. So that's my story. and thanks for letting me share that. But that's really why I persevered so long.
Yeah.
And I think if you do things for yourself, they're kind of short. But if you really want to help others, you can persevere a little longer and to wait for it. So thanks, Brendan. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
it's
story.
very interesting. Have you seen so far like an overwhelming support for this kind of thing in order for people to kind of connect in the virtual space?
That is a very interesting question. And well, the answer is no. And that's been the frustrating part, and especially dealing with my own trauma, and my own life story of like maybe I'm the wrong person. Did God give this calling just to the wrong person? Maybe there's something wrong with me. I'm not telling it right. So really, it's been a 7-year journey of people saying we didn't do that in the 1970s. Why should we do anything new? And it's just this journey of people just can't wrap their mind around doing something different in a sense. So it's been a struggle. But it's not about me. For me, it's God's calling to really help people. And again, it's not a it is really this conversation, but that's not what that is intended for here. But it's just my story and my calling of how you persevere. So when it does land, and I just believe in it, there is a 100% chance that virtual reality prayers will be a thing
Hmm.
in the world. I just have to be in a position where I just can't quit until that happens. And pastors have never been against me. Like that's not in the Bible kind of thing. It's just they're just really not interested in doing new things. And that's really the story of innovation, of how change happens and how to be disruptive in industries. You have to be willing to persevere and to forgive people. It's okay. It doesn't make anybody bad or anybody wrong. It's just doing new technologies is incredibly difficult for people. And that's just a story of that. So it's really a journey. And when people see it for the first time, it's amazing when you can help a hospice patient, put a headset on and connect to someone. It's very emotional. And you'd think it would catch on, right? Like, why
Yeah,
doesn't everybody do this?
yeah.
And it just takes time. And what I've learned about change is that it never happens until one day it's just changed. It just takes one leader to not quit, and that's my story of all of this. So yeah, it's an amazing journey of getting to here. But the answer is no. It's been an interesting experience, frustrating and everything. But thanks, Brandon. Good question.
Yeah. And we have here that you've written a few books. So you've written Virtual Reality for Main Street, which became a bestseller, and then you wrote VR for Ministry and VR for Prayers. Kind of what inspired you to write these books?
Yes, great question. So I believe in my faith, obviously, but I really believe that Main Street can really learn from the later stages of the third industrial revolution and learn that when we don't innovate, when we're not change agents, this is what we get is our world right now, where we have to do 30 years of change at once. So there's so much innovation that hasn't happened on Main Street. And now as you move into the next, industrial revolution, right? Industry 4.0, whatever you want to call it, I think we can learn from that. And I think we should go back to local. I think Main Street built our country. It's the cornerstone of democracy is local economies, local political issues. And we all go to the internet and we all go to the big news networks. We lose track of local. We don't know our own local businesses. We don't even know our own local politicians anymore. We don't know our PTA leaders at our school. We just let the really loud people lead. And I think if we can use innovation, we can really leverage this technology to bring us back together, bring us back to local. And we get to rethink that every 100 years, every 120 years. So I think this is a time now where the next generation of local leaders will look to change with innovation and new ideas. That's what I'm really excited about. So that's what inspires me is like people like you, Brandon, where you could get this technology and we can really think, you know, our new local economies, what's working, what's not working, and we get to have those discussions now. And I really think a lot of our new discussions won't be right versus left, like Republican versus Democrat. It'll be like new thinking versus old thinking, and that's going to happen now. Is we have to have a conversation of like virtual reality for hospice patients. Like, why is
Yeah.
this so hard to put into the world? And the answer is we have a crisis in local leadership. They're not changing and fast enough. Doing the same things over and over and over again isn't leadership. And so we're excited to introduce new ideas. And let local leaders decide themselves what's right, what's wrong. Who am I to do that? So they're going to look at robotics and different things and figure all that out. So my first book, Virtual Reality for Main Street, is about teaching local leaders how to start that conversation. And I had a really great book coach, so I stripped a lot of it out. So I got it down to like a fourth grade level. So it's really easy to read it. So it's exciting to start that book. And then who knew COVID happened, right? What
Yeah.
I was all ready to go and lined up and ready to go into hospitals with VR, and then COVID hit. So then
Froze. What just happened? Todd, you just froze. My internet just went. Oh, there we go.
Oh, I'm back.
Yes.
Yes. I
Okay.
think that was on my end. I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
So we can rethink like about his ministry. We can, if you got that part, we can bring hospital patients from anywhere to anywhere. We can bring maybe a Ukrainian family that's really having a hard day in this horrible war. We can bring them back, to a church, and if you're not a Christian, maybe to a synagogue or another place of worship, where we can really rethink connection. So ironically, as our world becomes more isolated, we actually have new tools that unleashes our ability to feel connected with
Yeah.
technology. So it all kind of worked. For me, it's God's plan. It's funny how this all worked, but yeah, then that's really been the journey of my three books. My fourth one is called Main Street 4.0, and this will be an actual roadmap of teaching local leaders to really embrace technology and to start leading from the front of it. And my first pilot project is San Diego 4.0, and it's a lot of hyper local projects, and it's really pushing new technologies into communities, and it makes them feel uncomfortable, but someone has to lead and someone has to do it. And I prayed for a long time that it wasn't me. Pick someone else. But it appears like I'm the one who gets to push it into the world. And so it's interesting doing VR ministry as a way to use VR for good, as the person bringing technology to, main streets and chambers around the country, because we have to adapt, especially in the world of AI. We have to do this right. We just can't check out and not
Yeah.
do anything new anymore. And that's where we're at. So thank you. That's been my books, and we'll see how many I write. So I've got 4 done.
Yep.
It's exciting.
Yeah. And do you think that bringing VR in for ministry will get rid of the old traditional route of having to call in a minister for different practices of different religions, and the complexity of that?
Yes, I can answer that first by going back to your really good question earlier, where I'm not really getting a lot of support from Christian leaders, and they're not, nobody's negative. It's just we didn't do that before, and they're not interested.
Yeah.
And so I've been, in a sense, struggling with a lot of these things in my own head. Like, I'm not qualified to make these decisions, but someone has to do it. So I've been researching this and studying this for a long time. And every religion's different, and even Christianity, there's like 100 different types of Christianity. And so for me, there's a lot of Christian ethics in there, like how does that work, and even human ethics. And so a lot of that is really important. So we get to redefine what is a church, how does that look, and that's not up to me. It's up to us as a community, and people can still make their own decisions. But it is exciting for me, even over the next few months, to bring somebody from Ukraine, on a virtual reality trip to an East County San Diego church, and to let them feel like, wow, my body is in Ukraine and we're at war, but I really feel at peace when I hear fellow Christians in another country, when I feel connected to them at their kitchen table, or whatever that looks like. And the same thing for hospice patients. Can you imagine like a brother can't go see a sister who's in hospice, timing and everything. And obviously no one's drugged, and they can do this, right? There's a lot of hypotheticals, but just putting a headset on where a hospice patient can connect to someone in another country, or even to go back in time. Like, I'd like to go visit there one more time, and they'll grant those last requests. So it's really a matter of understanding basic physics, and I'm not a physics expert, but we can use virtual reality to leverage time, space and time. And that's really what this is all about. So we can be in more than one place at one time, which is amazing. So my body's here, but I feel like I'm somewhere else. We can also leverage time by going back in time to connecting with old memories. And we're not talking about time travel yet,
Yeah.
thank goodness. But I could put a headset on and feel connected to maybe my home I grew up in, or the place I lived, even in another country. You can put earphones on, you can put nose inhalers in, and you can actually, feel immersed in the past, and then maybe deal with that in terms of trauma or living in, feeling connection to an old memory. And we can even bring somebody to the present day, of course, to like a park or a garden or wherever that is. And the fun one, which I haven't explored, and this is actually where the Catholic Church and I had a good discussion of how we can bring somebody to the future. So this would be probably my fifth or sixth book. And once I get out of this, is where we can actually bring people to the future, where their own personal future. And now we can take our like think and grow rich moments to the next level, where you have to think it, right? And then you have to actually believe that I can overcome. At that level, that's when you become on your path to to healing or becoming successful. And that's where we get to take somebody who's unsheltered, put a headset on them, and create a wonderful story where they see themselves moving into their apartment 1 year from now. They can't see it, they don't even believe it's possible, but they go, here's an apartment where people are congratulating them, their families there saying you made it. And then they can put on that experience thousands of times and really build the neuroplasticity in their mind where they can believe and that they can overcome, and they can achieve their goals. So that's really the part where some religious people are like, well, what if that's not God's will for them? Because basically it's going to be so powerful hypothetically that we're going to do something that maybe we're supposed to. That would be the prayers part. So when you look at virtual reality prayers, we can really go back in time to connect with an old memory. We can go somewhere in the present, and we can really help maybe somebody who's struggling in high school with the vision of them going to Yale for the first time, where they actually feel like they've already done it. It's just they're living in the past and their vision experiences in the future. So there's a lot of things to navigate, and virtual reality is very powerful. And I'm glad it hasn't landed yet, because there's a lot of conversations we need to have about all of this, because it has ramifications for learning um, as we rethink K through 12 and college over the next 5 years. So it's a big thing for us to navigate. And I appreciate your question earlier, is that my goal, and why I appreciate talking to you today, is really getting people in the conversation.
Yeah.
There's like an unwillingness to do anything new. Like, we didn't do that before, and we can't do that anymore. We need people to get in, even if they're against it. I could tell people with even robotics, it's like, well, to back up. So it is weird being the leader of virtual reality ministry in the world and bringing robots into the world on Main Street. So it's an interesting thing, and somebody has to lead it.
Mhm.
We can't just stick our head in the sand and pretend it's 1975. We have worker shortages, and that's permanent. We have all these current challenges we can't solve with old stuff. We need the new stuff, and we need to study the ethics of it. We can't really talk about AI, because for some people they're just learning about AI for the first time, which confuses me. Like, it's been around a while. It's only relevant because it just started and it's on Fox News and CNN every day. But it's been around for a long time, and we haven't talked about it on Main Street. So that's really my job with Main Street 4.0, isn't to tell people what to do. It's to start a conversation of how we can come together and really solve our current challenges. And it is interesting how when people look back 30, 40 years from now, they're going to wonder, why was that so hard
Yeah. Yeah.
to do anything new? And so I'm excited to have this chat with you.
Yeah. And you've also created 6 online courses covering various aspects of VR ministry. Um, can you give us kind of an overview about these courses and their significance?
Yes. So the blessing of COVID, right? We all got to sit in our little rooms. So I chose to take a lot of that time to really dissect how to create what I call the 4 types of virtual reality experiences. And so that's what the courses are all about. And I'm in the process of changing them and revising them a little bit, but it's basically a roadmap to create an experience. So if I want to create an experience where I can bring my mother back to an important memory in her life, the courses teach you how to do that. So you're not buying something from me, or you can buy Todd's package. You can just go do it yourself. A lot of it's easy. It's just something new, and it's kind of a good way to explain it. It's kind of like this Can you imagine being next to a neighbor that has this big box that's rolled into their home and they put it in their living room and they start sitting around it? And you're looking around like, what is a big box doing in the living room? And then the neighbors come over and say, well, no, if you look at this big box, there's a screen in the front and you can see a show in it. There's people in this box. And the people who live next door are like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't get what that is. So it's kind of like showing people a TV screen in the 50s.
Yeah.
It's like, and you have to see it for the first time. And that's really where we're at, is people need to experience it and see it. And then they have to learn how to do it. So the courses are really breaking it down, like how to create these experiences, and they're going to be very, very powerful. And for me, as a company, 7 years later, after I started all these courses, is now it's the same roadmap of creating, public relations campaigns with AI and robotics. So it's the same architecture, the same steps. So these first courses are the 6 steps of creating these experiences. And then from there, it's like the cornerstone. Then from there, you can learn how to create very advanced public relations campaigns, ad campaigns. So it's really important to break everything down into little steps, because I'm learning people get the glossy eyed. And I've talked to so many people about this, Brandon, as I can actually see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
And I talk about, hey, we're going to have robots on Main Street. You can just see their eyes gloss over.
I'm like, what?
I'm out. I just checked out. And so it's an interesting thing. So like, I don't want people to check out. So I said, I can just say, hey, here's 6 steps. And those are the courses in the books of how to do it.
That's very interesting. Thank you for that. And is there any advice that you'd give to like individuals or people out there who are interested in pursuing a career in VR, in something like this, or just in VR, in general?
Yes. Yes, virtual reality is going to be a very big industry. Citi, one of the big banks, just evaluated it, and it's the high one, so I like using it, is they evaluated virtual reality as an aggregate, as an industry, would be somewhere between $8 to $13 trillion in 2030. So there's a lot of technology that's sitting on the sidelines right now,
Yeah.
and we're all waiting, it looks like, until the recession hits, and that's when they're going to start launching all the new stuff. So everybody's on hold right now. So all the technology is just bundling up and sitting there. And I know what some of it is, and it's just piling up. So really it's exciting. So VR is there as an industry. So if you want to become a nurse, for example, virtual reality will be a part of your training. It's going to be a part of your patient care, because you can tell somebody, especially like me, right? I'm more of a visual person, is I can tell somebody what their condition is. There's the red cells and the blue cells, and we got the white cells, they combine and they do a thingy, and we got all these huge words that nobody understands. What if they can put a headset on and take a journey through a bloodstream? And you can actually, oh, that's the blue thing. Oh yeah, it's a cute little cartoon character. And then you can float through, and when it does this and it does that, this happens. And that's your disease. And all of a sudden, I got it.
Yeah.
Instead of like a 400-page PDF or something. So it's really the idea, to answer your question, the idea really is learning is fun. Learning doesn't have to be boring. And I like KFC. They found that you can actually learn how to make a KFC sandwich in 10 minutes, and it's a lifelong memory if it's fun. So KFC has a new VR learning academy where you can go in and create a chicken sandwich, and it's fun, and it's like a game, and it takes 10 minutes. If you do that in the classroom, from what I think I remember correctly, is it takes 25 minutes, and it's a short-term memory. You have to keep teaching them how to make the chicken sandwich. Like, where does the lettuce go? Does it go above the mayonnaise, or where's the bun go? And so it's interesting. So if you're interested in, like manufacturing, you can explain complex things in manufacturing in VR better than a PDF or a cute logo. Other applications would be, science. You can collaborate now in different ways and different projects. So really VR is a way to help us connect and to tell stories. And that's why VR is really going to be into everything and everywhere. So yeah, learn it and understand it and learn how to lead from it. If you're a developer, learn how to create VR. If you're a storyteller, you like videography, learn how to tell stories in VR. What does that look like? And the sad news is a lot of this really isn't covered in colleges yet. It's coming. So you're going to have to do a lot of self-learning. So the good news is it's free. The bad news is that, you have to do it on your own, and YouTube videos and all of that. But one project we are doing, that limited time we have left, is we're creating a project called San Diego 4.0.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is around students. So we're going to give students real projects. So here's these isolated seniors, and I'm going to teach you how to do virtual reality. Now you think of a solution for them. So the future of education is solving challenging problems, not just remembering facts.
Yeah.
So that's really where you can learn how to solve complicated problems with VR. Then that you can put that in your resume. I solve problems instead of I remember facts.
Yeah.
And that's really where VR is important. And there's also augmented reality, mixed reality, which is coming more this year, where you can pull apart an auto part. You can look at it with someone else in another country. You can collaborate in this mixed space, and it's crazy. It's like Star Wars. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's something where you should go out in the community, get excited about it, get passionate about it. And for someone like you, Brandon, I can tell you, just because I've talked to so many thousands of people, is that anybody in any industry that does VR right now, you're the leader. You're the global leader in it. So it's exciting for you. So if you pick VR as an industry, or somebody who may be listening, if you pick VR as like something you want to do with your life, you're like an instant leader. We call it like the blue ocean. I mean, it's untapped. And they say in marketing, like my world in the past has been like, we haven't thought of a new marketing idea in 20, 30 years. And it's absolutely true. That's not true anymore. Now we have all these new tools where we can rethink everything. So that's where VR comes into play, is that we can rethink just about everything. So I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with, Brandon.
Yes, I'm excited too. And we have about just enough time here for any questions that people may have in the chat or anything like that. So does anybody have any questions for Todd?
Yes, I do. You talked about, can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Teddy.
Yeah, this is Teddy. You talked about sort of the part that really connected me with was regarding loneliness and how this could sort of bring people together. Prayer is one medium. There's sort of looking at religion agnostic, if you will. There's a lot of that problem that's only getting worse with the seniors. And as you get older, you get more lonely. And the same concept you mentioned, right? The love, connectedness, and empowerment sort of applies, right? They're just feeling isolated. So they want to feel loved, they want to feel connected, and they want to feel that they can do stuff. They're not there. So, it's less of a question, sort of more like a comment. I mean, have you sort of picked that thread and try to go there, dig deeper in that? Because that's a problem that's not just with seniors, but it's manifesting itself in the form of chronic problems in healthcare, and therefore insurance companies starting to pay attention to it.
Right. It's an emerging conversation, and I'm excited to live right now in this time, because a lot of people are studying loneliness and isolation as a health concern. And we have new research now that really validates that feeling alone and isolated, can really take up to 15 years off your life. They're saying that. That's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Yep.
So having isolation and loneliness is something for us to talk about, especially like a lot of my early research, even my first master's degree, did some of the research on media segmentation and social media, and how the algorithms divide us and create us, make us more lonely and isolated, because Facebook friends are not real friends. That's just, that's my world.
True.
So, and how can we overcome that with our new tools? And for me, it's been frustrating because a lot of people really aren't interested in the new stuff until they see it. So I got to put headsets on people, and so it's like kind of like pulling that old TV into someone's house and going, look at it. I can't tell you about it.
We got to keep gently nudging at it, but I mean, I think you're on to something where this is going to start to manifest itself into showing why and how things like this, particularly what you're doing, can help actually result in positive outcomes.
Right.
Quantifiable positive outcomes, maybe.
Yes.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you. Thanks, Teddy.
Hey Todd, I really enjoyed your session, and I can't wait to participate in some virtual prayers. But one thing that I was thinking about is, have you thought about what a use case might be and how someone might, people want to go visit religious sites, like in Jerusalem, and you may not have the means, or you couldn't get the visa to go there yourself, but with this, you could actually experience it. So, how would you use VR to take people places that they've always desired to go but can't?
Yes, isn't that exciting?
Yes.
We're coming out of COVID where we're all isolated and stuck in our little rooms, and then all of a sudden we come out of it, and now we have VR to bring us anywhere. So what's amazing about this period of time is I think there'll be a rapid rush for people to record stuff in 360 videos. So yes, that's amazing. Even personal stories like, I want to bring my mother back to where she grew up. You just grab a 360 camera and you go record it, upload it to YouTube, and it's like that simple, right? It just takes a couple times of practice. So it really is an interesting time, so we can do that ourselves. And as a company, as probably a future nonprofit, we'll be going out to record a lot of these experiences around the world. And these will be with 360 videos, and with that, we'll be creating big, really large virtual reality ministry worlds where people can understand important sites. And again, like Teddy said, I'm more agnostic today, and kind of the approach, but any other, like Buddhists and other religions, can take a look and go, hey, got it, I can do that. I can record a place to be peaceful and mindful, to create those kind of experiences. And I think human beings right now are too busy in the state of doing. We're just so busy. I think of the Matrix movie where Neo takes the red pill for the first time, and one of the first experiences, he looks around and he sees everybody on the street just busy, and that's where we are right now. And I think a lot of our world is just too busy. So if we can take time and be at peace, that helps with the loneliness and the isolation, and we just stop our mind and we're more aware of where we are. And it's, the applications are incredible, and we'll be putting these VR stations in like high schools, for example. Maybe a student had a really hard day, fight with their dad or something, or someone they're dating, for example. But wouldn't it be cool they could put a headset on and relax before a test and to study that? So yes, and some of those places may be religious. Some of those may just be a park, or maybe there'll be a little bit of both of them. But yeah, it's an amazing time, and really the sky's the limit, and that's a perfect backdrop to answer your question.
Well, thank you very much, Todd. That is all the time we have for today. So, of course, thank you for all the time that you've given us and all the insightful information. But yeah, that's really all we have for today. So once again, I'm joined by Todd Brinkman. My name is Brandon Faulkner, and you can check us out at villagecore.com, or villagecore.org, where we host different events like this, different tech topics as well. And if you do miss one of these sessions, they are recorded and posted on YouTube, so you can go check it out there. And we also host various different types of people, just like Todd here, who give insightful background into kind of what they're doing with elderly people and other things like that. So be sure to check out our YouTube channel and be sure to come to other events. And thank you so much.
All right.